There is a moment when everything around freezes, and in this stillness, what emerges is not fear, but something else. A quiet invitation. Notice this invitation within yourself. It is not loud. It does not demand proof. It simply exists, like the first flash of light on the horizon before dawn. Within this invitation lies a great truth. Ignorance does not take away strength. It gives it. This is a paradox that can be felt as a gentle tingling in the chest, like the wind slowly rearranging leaves on branches and opening new clearings. If you are currently standing in indecision, if the picture of your future seems vague or fragmented, embrace this state as the beginning of a path, not its end. The realization that you do not know what will happen next. This is not a failure, but a door. Imagine a forest where paths intersect, and you hold a map written before the forest changed. The map is useful, but it no longer describes the living web of trails that appears underfoot. Instead of trying to rigidly follow an outdated plan, allow yourself to take a step. Feel the ground beneath your feet. Notice the scent of moss, and listen to where the wind leads. Each such movement reveals new realities that were previously hidden. These are not random jolts of fate. This is the dynamics of choice, soft, growing, like roots penetrating dark soil and finding moisture. You may feel the urge to plan everything out, to arrange the future down to the smallest details, as if this would calm your anxiety. But somehow, the calmest voice within often says otherwise. Allow yourself to be with what comes and learn to live in the moment that transforms you. This inner speech is not a verdict, but an invitation to trusting exploration. Imagine that you are the sea which sometimes stirs, sometimes caresses the shore, but always remains part of a vast system. Ignorance in this image is a tide that brings forth new beings, new varieties of light, new possibilities for something to grow. To trust the tide means to allow the world to bring you what you have not yet known you were searching for. If fatigue from planning has overtaken you, if past strategies seemed right and suddenly stopped working, this is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign. The space for the new is growing here and now. In this simple realization, there is liberation, like a deep breath after a long silence. And this breath is not a command. Do it, but a gentle hint. Be. Allow yourself to feel the flow of possibilities that opens up when you stop rigidly clinging to the known. The sense of lightness that may arise will not come immediately as a loud joy. It will come as a quiet knowledge that the path is beneath your feet, and that each door you open leads to yet another room of light. The promise of this moment is not a guarantee of the absence of difficulties, but a promise of inner transformation. What was anchored as "I must know" gives way to the subtle mastery of life. Learning to see what was previously invisible and rejoicing in small discoveries. This is not a quest for wild expansion or continuous movement for the sake of movement. It is an invitation to presence, to hear your breath, to notice your heartbeat, and to allow your intuition to gently suggest the direction. When you accept your ignorance, before you opens not chaos, but a golden web of possibilities, each thread resonating with light. Let this feeling linger with you for a moment. Inhale the smile of light. Exhale the tension. Allow yourself to be in this ignorance, like in a field where each blade of grass leans towards the sun. Be here. Trust the quiet rhythm. Here at the beginning of a new story, it is important to say, right now it's especially crucial to learn to accept the unknown. The world around us is changing so rapidly that old certainties lose their meaning and familiar maps turn out to be incomplete. But within this disintegrating obviousness lies an invitation to profound transformation, not external, but internal. Why right now? Because it is in times of change that we stand on the threshold between who we were and who we can become. And this transition does not require drastic decisions. It requires gentle presence and a sensitive heart. Imagine a lake in autumn mist. The surface seems smooth and clear, but as you rise to the shore, a wealth of colors opens up before you. Foliage, reflections, misty outlines of mountains. The same happens in our lives. In moments of uncertainty, there is the opportunity to see the world in new hues. We often crave certainty because it promises safety. But certainty is not always truth. It often is just a habit. Embracing the unknown offers a different resource: flexibility. It is like the ability to read the wind by the movement of the grass and change the sail not out of fear, but out of curiosity for the route that may unfold. You are not alone in this feeling. Many of us carry the weight of plans, a list of goals, expectations, like an old sweater that has long since shrunk. Sometimes it is warm and comfortable, but often it hinders movement. Allow yourself to take it off and feel your skin warmed by a new light. This is not a sign of laziness. It is an act of honesty, to admit that the path may be different. It is important to see that accepting the unknown does not mean weakness or inaction. It is a conscious choice to trust yourself and the moment. Being with yourself in this means listening to the inner whisper that knows when to open your palm and when to keep it clenched. Contrasts here help to understand deeper. Remember how sometimes attempts to control everything lead to a feeling of emptiness, as if you were trying to hold water in your fist. And then recall that moment when you let go and the water flowed gently between your fingers, leaving a feeling of coolness and purity. Embracing the unknown is not giving up on intentions. It is the ability to plan differently. Not every little detail of the future, but the key moments, joys, experiences, directions. Planning not for control, but to create space where events can freely unfold. This thought prompts us to a new practice, to live not on autopilot, but in presence. Autopilot builds habits that often maintain comfort, but strip away freshness. Presence, on the other hand, fills each day with the question, what is important right now? It invites you closer to sensations, to breath, to that vibrational light which shows where to go. And when you learn to notice this light, you discover golden threads of possibilities, those very paths that are not visible on old maps. This ability is not magic, but a subtle work of feeling and trust. We would like to offer a path that does not break you and does not promise easy victories. It offers internal transformation through the practice of awareness, creativity, and light planning of joy. There are no clear recipes here, just an invitation to explore, to play, and to allow yourself to make mistakes with gentleness. When you embrace the unknown, you no longer see life as a series of tasks to be solved, but as a journey where not only the destinations matter, but also the steps between them, the music of the wind, and the warmth of hands. And if it seems now that the world is too fast, that decisions cannot be made without fear, remember, in this speed, there is also a gift, the opportunity for urgent renewal. Allow yourself to be the one who can breathe through uncertainty, who can notice small discoveries and appreciate them. Be with yourself like an old friend, with a gentle smile and patience. Trust that the unknown carries with it the seeds of the new. Allow yourself to breathe. Be here. When we talk about opportunities, the first thing that comes to the heart is a light expansion, as if the ribcage suddenly remembers that it can breathe deeper. This feeling is not just a thought. It is a subtle emotion that can arise at the moment when the world around seems too busy and bustling. Imagine an early morning. The fog has not yet dispersed. The light barely touches the treetops, and the air smells of moist earth. In this smell, there is a promise, not loud, but quiet and persistent. The path is open. Feel this promise within yourself. It gently pulls at the thread of mood, awakening curiosity about what lies beyond the horizon. There was one case that I often recall as an example of small courage. One woman I know would sit on the same bench in the park every morning and paint the same piece of sky. Her paintings were simple: a cloud, a branch, a shadow from a passerby. But one day, she decided to change her angle and walked further, around the corner of the park, to a place she had never been before. There, she found a small path leading to an old pond, where the water reflected an entirely different palette of light. This change of perspective did not require revolutionary effort, just a step that changed the whole set of possibilities before her. The story is simple, but it has a core. Every moment can open a new door if we allow ourselves to slightly change our viewpoint. What can help you feel such doors in life? Start small. Dedicate 1 minute each day to slow down and notice. Allow yourself to look at ordinary things in a new way. A cup of tea, the commute to work, a conversation you typically conduct mechanically. Notice where a slight glimmer of interest appears. In that glimmer, there is a hint. Plan not so much for big results as for small discoveries. A walk in an unfamiliar neighborhood, a conversation with someone you haven't talked to in a long time, reading a page from a book you usually overlook. These small steps accumulate into a path where a new reality begins to flow. Trust simple experiments and start small. Here, it is important to stop and think. Why do such simple things work? Because life consists of sequential points of attention. When we change our point, the perspective changes, along with the possibilities. The wind, which was barely noticeable the day before, can bring the scent of a different season. The road you have walked for years may suddenly turn out to be a gateway to a new landscape. This is not magic. It is the natural dynamics of presence and choice. And if you accept this as a fact, you will begin to see that ignorance ceases to be emptiness. It becomes a vessel for new opportunities that arise in response to your attention. I will whisper a soft thought. Do not seek guarantees. Look for moments where you feel a light push of interest and follow it quietly. This is not a promise of instant change, but an invitation to a slow, gentle transformation. Allow each day to be a small field of experience where you gather the seeds of new realities. And remember, steps do not have to be loud. Sometimes it is enough to turn your head once in the direction the wind is blowing, and the road will begin to change. Let this feeling stay as a small flame inside, not to burn you, but to illuminate the next step. Take that step and feel the movement. Joy knows how to hide in simple things, in the morning light, in the warmth of a cup in your hands, in ringing laughter, or in silent contemplation. When we speak of planning joy, we are not talking about creating a passport of pleasures filled with tasks and deadlines. It is more of an invitation to learn to create space in your life where joy can naturally appear. Imagine that you are planting flowers. You cannot force them to bloom on the same day, but you can prepare the soil, water it, and give it time. Planning joy is like this garden. You create the conditions, and life brings flowers in its own time. Once, a young man who worked in an office and felt a constant emptiness decided to set aside one evening a week for a little joy. Sometimes it was a walk at sunset, sometimes a restaurant he had never been to, sometimes a quiet night with a book and a blanket. After several months, this practice changed his attitude toward weekdays. What once seemed boring began to fill with anticipation. He did not plan grand changes. He planned moments of light. It is a simple story, but it carries a deep thought. Joy can be cultivated through intention and repetition. Start small, and you will see how these little open windows to the soul combine into a system that is more resilient than any abrupt decisions. Practically, it looks like this. Choose a few types of simple actions that bring you warmth. Aimless walking, meeting a friend, writing down 3 things you are grateful for at the end of the day. Allow these joy modules to become part of your week. But don't make them another item on your to-do list. Treat them as invitations to yourself. Notice how your breath changes when you allow yourself to enjoy, even when uncertainty is around. Trust that through repetition, a stable habit of feeling joy is created, and it will begin to come more often, like the tide bringing shells to the shore. There is a fine line between planning for control and planning for experience. Control seeks predictability. Experience seeks openness. When you plan for experience, you do not demand a precise sequence from life. You prepare a palette in which different shades are possible. This allows you to be flexible and maintain inner support. And if you suddenly encounter failure, all you have left is the ability to notice and appreciate the little things. This skill does not compensate for all losses, but it provides resilience, like an anchor that does not hold the ship in place, but helps it maintain its course in a storm. Let this thought flow like a quiet song. Start planning joy not as a project, but as a caring practice. Make a small list of what warms you, and allow these things to be present in your life regularly. And remember, joy is not a reward for work done. It is a source that nourishes the work itself. Give it space and watch how the rhythm changes. Presence is not a trend or a metaphor. It is a skill that can be developed like any other. It starts with one simple thing: slowing down. When the world speeds up, breathing becomes shallow, thoughts race relentlessly, and we lose our sense of being anchored in the present. Imagine a river. When the water flows too quickly, its surface breaks into thousands of flashes, making it hard to see the bottom. But if the river slows down, the water becomes clearer, and you see the stones, moss, and what was once hidden. Similarly, slowing down returns clarity and makes it possible to see choices. I remember a woman who lost her sense of time due to constant busyness. Her days were lists of tasks, and every morning she felt like she was waking up in someone else's life. One day, she tried a very simple experiment. Every morning before starting work, she would spend 3 minutes just breathing, without phones or thoughts of tasks. The first few days felt strange. Later, those 3 minutes became a support, like a stone in the water to hold on to. She began to notice that decisions came more softly, and her work was met with less internal resistance. This illustrates how a small practice of presence can change the quality of life. What can you do right now? Allow yourself to start with 3 minutes. Focus on your breath. Feel how the air flows in and out. Notice the sensations in your body. Don't try to change yourself forcefully. Just observe. Then expand this observation. During a walk, Pay attention to your steps, the sound of your footsteps. During a conversation, listen without planning your response. During a meal, savor the taste without rushing. These simple gestures create a habit of presence, and over time, they will become natural. Notice that presence does not eliminate complexities, but it changes your relationship to them. From points of resistance, they become material for movement. There is one more subtle detail. Presence helps you see where exactly you want to be. Often, we think that a goal is a point in the future, but in reality, a goal is a series of moments that leads to a feeling of fullness. When you live in presence, you begin to recognize those moments that align with your inner truth. It's like a sailor feeling the wind and understanding where to set the sails. Don't demand instant answers from yourself. Learn to feel where your attention leans and move gently in that direction. Let this be your daily reminder. Breathe, notice, take a small step. In presence, the world unfolds differently, and you begin to live not for a goal, but for the subtle transitions between steps. Make this small choice right now and feel the movement. Change is a process that can be imagined as the flow of time streaming through the space of your inner world. Sometimes it is gentle, like rain that gradually washes the leaves, and sometimes it is abrupt, like a hurricane that alters the structure of the forest. Embracing change does not mean passivity. On the contrary, it is an active presence in that flow, where you learn to discern which branches to cut and which to leave for new shoots. It is an art of being flexible without losing yourself at all. There is a story about an old tree by the road. People often considered it unadapted because it did not grow according to strict, straight rules. The branches went in different directions, creating a whimsical crown. One day, a strong wind knocked down part of the top, and it seemed that the tree was broken. But years passed, and the place where the top used to be bloomed with new branches that turned out to be stronger and bore more fruit. This is a story about how trauma and change can become a point of growth if embraced as part of the cycle. Acceptance gives space for new forms of life within you. The practical steps in embracing change are simple, but require softness. Allow yourself to mourn the loss, if there is one. Do not suppress emotions as a weakness. Notice your body, where you hold tension, what thoughts repeat. Start with a small ritual. Write down 3 things that changed during the day, and 1 thing you are grateful for. This helps to see movement, rather than getting stuck in one frame. Trust that in every turn, there is an opportunity to choose a direction anew. Sometimes, this means letting go of the old. At other times, integrating it, but always moving forward with respect for yourself. It is important to remember that embracing change does not extinguish the desire for planning and responsibility. It merely offers a different tone. Plan not as an attempt to hypnotize the future, but as a supportive structure that leaves space for spontaneity. When you combine planning with acceptance, you get a powerful combination, a foundation for action and flexibility for life. It is like navigation. A map is needed, but more important is the ability to read the weather and listen to the sea. And in this listening, the true driving force is born. Not external productivity for the sake of productivity, but an inner desire to live fully and consciously. Let this thought remain as a quiet compass. Embrace change with softness and respect. Look at what comes as material for growth. Take a small step and feel the power of movement. Imagine a whirlwind, not destructive, but creative. It doesn't tear everything in its path. It gathers seeds, leaves, and light, mixes them, and creates a new substance ready for germination. When you acknowledge your ignorance, you involuntarily enter into such a golden whirlwind. This is the space between who you seem to be right now and who you can become. There is tension here, but it is filled not with fear, but with potential. In this whirlwind, you can allow old stories to crumble to make way for a new pattern. A young musician who had to choose between a safe career and the risk of creativity lived in a state of waiting for a long time. One day, he decided to just start. Instead of big plans, he created one short melody each day. After several months of these melodies, he felt a flow, and then came his first serious opportunity to perform. This story is not about guarantees of success, but about how small actions taken in a state of acceptance and curiosity accumulate into a whirlwind that attracts opportunities. This whirlwind doesn't require your constant control. It asks for your presence. What can you do to enter this whirlwind? Start with curiosity and gentle action. Do small experiments. Listen to what resonates. Allow yourself to take in signs from within. When something evokes a slight resonance, follow it. Don't demand immediate confirmation from the results. Trust the process. Record small successes and discoveries, even if they seem insignificant. These records act as a mirror in which you will see how your path is formed. Notice how over time the map before you changes. Where there was once emptiness, paths and bridges begin to appear. Reflection is important here. Each time you enter the whirlwind, ask yourself a quiet question. What resonates deeply within me? What old fears are hindering movement? And what small steps can soften them? Answer gently, without accusations. And also, don't forget the joy in this process. The whirlwind is not just work and growth. It is also full of light, humor, and random encounters. When you see opportunities as an ecosystem rather than a linear series of chances, life is filled with a richness of choice. Let this picture inspire you. Enter the golden whirlwind with an open palm and a light heart. Do a small experiment today and trust the flow. There is a special softness in rituals that don't turn into a list of obligations, but become doors to the feeling of self. Allow these rituals to take their place in your day as light beacons. They do not obligate, but illuminate the path. In this section, I will whisper simple yet profound practices, short daily steps, a micro plan for the week, and ways to track progress that support inspiration and maintain a sense of your own open space. The emotion to start with is curiosity without pressure. Imagine you are a child again, discovering for the first time that water has a smell after rain. This curiosity is not a rush to the result, but a warm attention to what is happening now. Let it be your guide, and the constructs of the day will begin to change. Habits will become windows rather than walls. A micro plan for each day. Try and adapt. Morning, 3 to 5 minutes of silence. No more than a few breaths in which you simply exist. Position, sitting or standing, without phones. Let it be a short pause, like a clean breath of air before the start. Morning moment of joy, 5-10 minutes. This can be a warm drink, a few lines from a book, 5 minutes of looking out the window. The task is not productivity, but feeling, where lightness appears in the body and a smile on the face. In the middle of the day, 1 minute of mindful breathing, attention to the body. Ask yourself politely, Where is the breath going right now? This is a small anchor practice, bringing you back from automatism. In the evening, writing down 3 observations. What made your heart respond today? What felt challenging? What are you grateful for? This is less than a journal. It is a brief map of movement. These points are not a strict regulation, but a gentle net in which moments of mindfulness can be caught. Start small and gradually increase. If 3 minutes in the morning seem too little, allow yourself 5. But do not demand instant feats from yourself. Small steps bring sustainable transformation. They are like a drop that over time builds a stream. A story will help illustrate the effect. One woman, who felt lost in routine, began with 3 minutes of breathing and evening writing. After a month, she noticed less panic before making decisions, that her inner voice grew louder. She did not change her entire life in one day. She allowed herself to notice, and this change gradually became the engine for new choices. This is an example of how simplicity can open big doors. How to track progress without pressure. Choose a simple observation system. A familiar notebook or an app on your phone will do, just for notes, not for judgment. Each week, note 3 things. What new you noticed, what small step you took, what inspires you further. Do not evaluate yourself by an ideal, but mark the movement. Lists and charts do not need to be complicated here. Their goal is to support attention. To maintain inspiration, it is useful to create stores of light, short reminders of what nourishes you. This could be a playlist of 3 songs, a list of 5 quotes, a couple of photos of places where you felt alive. When motivation wanes, open the store and allow yourself to be nourished. Trust that inspiration returns faster when you do not demand heroic efforts from it, but invite it like an old friend. Another subtle tool is experiments over 3 days. Choose a small practice, e.g. a walk without your phone, 10 minutes of drawing by hand, a conversation with someone without a topic, and dedicate 3 consecutive days to it. These mini experiments provide quick feedback. If there is resonance, continue. If not, gently switch to another experiment. This is a way to feel your own response without long-term commitments. Supportive circle. Sometimes it is helpful to share small things with another person. It is not a report, but an exchange of light. Let one acquaintance or family member know about your mini practice and ask them to simply listen if you wish to share. Human contact makes the path less lonely and adds a gentle accountability. How to integrate joy planning. In your weekly review, leave space for 1-2 little celebrations. This could be an hour of creativity, a meeting with a friend, or just an evening with your favorite music. Treat it as an invitation, not a task. Over time, these moments will become a support that nourishes the rest of the day. Finally, an important recommendation. Be mindful of the language within. Replace demanding phrases with inviting ones. Try, allow, be attentive. This changes the tone of your relationship with yourself and with the world. Fear gives way to interest. And if you are waiting for one particular step, remember this simple advice. Allow yourself to start small. Mark 1 minute today in your notebook for mindful breathing. And remember, this is not a race. Allow the steps to be light and joyful. If you want one specific piece of advice, let it be this. Allow yourself the first small ritual right now. 3 minutes of silence, 1 thing of joy today, and writing down 3 observations in the evening. And if your inner voice resonates, let it become your guide. Please, allow yourself to take the first step. start today. A little silence within. Feel how the heart calms down a bit. And remember, the journey is just beginning. If this invitation resonates with you, subscribe to the channel and like to stay close and not miss the next day of inspiration. And here we are at a quiet edge, where we can look back and see the threads that connect everything that has been said. In this final breath, it is important to gather the feeling, not as proof, but as a warm offering to oneself. The sense of unknown, which once seemed like emptiness, now stands out as a canvas on which you can gently paint the strokes of your life. It is not a plan that others will validate, but a personal palette that you carry within. The inner attitude that we have cultivated is trust in ourselves and the world, but not naive, rather attentive. Imagine holding a small lantern in your hands. You will not light up the entire road at once, but there is enough clear light for the next steps. When you walk this way, you do not lose your goal. You only change the way of traveling. Instead of a rigid map, you now have a sensing core that can orient itself by resonances and by those moments that resonate within. This feeling is not an instant victory. It is a long alliance with oneself. There is a story that I want to leave as a reminder. An elderly man spoke about the habit of gathering small branches in the forest and stacking them in a neat pile by his house. For many, it seemed trivial, but for him, it was a way to see the result of small efforts, to feel connected to the place, and from time to tidy up, rearrange, allowing the branches to become part of another pattern. He was not seeking grand meaning, but found the rhythm of life in these small movements. So too, be a tiny gardener of your everyday life. Tend to the corners of your attention, allowing them to bloom. The conclusion that you can carry with you: the unknown is not an enemy, but material. You can build, sow, plant, and draw with it. If you change the tone of your inner speech, if you allow yourself small practices and light rituals, life will start responding with a cozy composition of little joys and meaningful discoveries. This will not happen instantly and does not have to be perfect. It will happen gradually if you stay close to yourself with softness and attention. Let the last thought now be not an instruction, but a blessing. Allow yourself to be on the way, even when the map is blurry. Allow mistakes to be part of the pattern. Allow joy to come before reaching the result. Your inner truth already knows many answers. Sometimes it is enough to listen to it and trust it to take a gentle step forward. Before closing this conversation, feel the breath, how it slows down, how a small confidence arises. Not loud, but quiet. Take this confidence like a small pebble, put it in your pocket, and carry it when doubts come. And remember, the journey continues. If you wish, stay close. Subscribe to the channel and like the video so as not to miss the next day of inspiration. May a quiet joy remain in your heart, like after a long warm tea, and a light desire to continue the journey.